Hola! Welcome to my channel. My name is Alejandra and I'm a Mexican knitting in Scotland. And today I'm sharing with you 15 of my favorite summer tees that have been released this year. Hi, I hope you're doing well. If you're new here, welcome. In this channel, I like to share my journey as a beginner knitter and patterns that I find inspirational, my progress, project blogs. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, I invite you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Today, I am wearing my Tulipan Tee by Lillie Tee, which I finished recently, and I use Sandnes Garn Line in the colorway Matcha. I really love this top. And in fact, on my previous knitting podcast, I mentioned all about it. And if you want to hear more about it, you can go and check that out. But I also mentioned that I wouldn't have a lot of opportunities to wear it here in Scotland because it usually doesn't get that hot. But then right after I said that, we had a really bad heat wave. So I've been having lots of opportunities to wear it ever since. And who knows, it's just the start of the summer, so maybe I will get more opportunities to wear these for the rest of the summer. So today I am bringing to you, as the title suggested, my favorite summer tees that have been released this year. Now, I had to narrow it down to the patterns that have been released this year because I have a Ravelry bundle of about 50 patterns. So that would be just too long of a video to record and too much work to gather all the details of all those patterns. So I decided to narrow it down to 15 of the favorite patterns and just exclusively to the ones that have been released in 2026. So as usual, I will have timestamps of every single pattern in case you're just interested to skip ahead. And I will have a link in the description to the Ravelry bundle that includes all the patterns that I have in this video, plus a lot more that I have added in that bundle. So I decided to do summer tees instead of summer patterns in general, just because for me particularly, I find tees the most versatile for my wardrobe because I really don't like to wear sleeveless tops that much. Perhaps it's just TMI or just a me problem, but I don't really like the sensory feeling of my underarms touching skin. I know this is probably just a problem I have. A lot of people might not have this issue. So I generally just wear short sleeve garments, even in commercial garments. I rarely wear tank tops. I also find them more comfortable to be able to fit a bra underneath, so they're more bra friendly. And in general, I just find them more fitting into my wardrobe. So that is the reason why I have focused exclusively on short sleeve tees. But if you're interested to have another video about tank tops and sleeveless tops, please let me know in the comments. I do have lots of them saved. I do use them occasionally, especially if I go on holiday to a beach or something. But in my day-to-day, I generally don't prefer to wear sleeveless tops. And one more requirement I usually have for something to end up on my list is it has to have something interesting, some new technique I could learn perhaps, or something that is not plain stockinette. Don't get me wrong, I think plain stockinette garments are gorgeous. I would love to have them in my wardrobe. I just don't enjoy knitting them that much. I find them a little bit daunting. So I always like to have a little bit of lace, a little bit of cable, some texture, something fun. And I always like to have a balance in the things I knit that is a little bit challenging and learning new techniques, and also something I will wear. So that is something I usually look for in the characteristics of the garments that end up on my list. If you see me looking down, it's because I will have all the details of the patterns listed here on my computer. I have created a list with of the details that I want to share with you and pictures so I remember what each one looks like. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first pattern I want to share with you is one I already own on Ravelry. I already bought the pattern and I'm ready to cast it on. I'm just waiting on the yarn to arrive. It is the Waffle Tee by the Knit Purl Girl. I have been following this pattern since she started sharing in her YouTube channel the design process, and I really wanted to cast on this project because I really like the I-cord details, and the lace motif is really, really beautiful. She offers two different yoke lace motifs for the depth of the yoke. And the motif consists of yarn overs and decreases. And she mentions in the pattern that it's a fairly easy to memorize pattern, and it doesn't require too advanced of a knowledge. The only thing she does mention about the difficulty is that if you use a plant-based yarn, which she highly suggests, especially a linen-based one for the drape, is that it could be a little bit fiddly to work with because it's a really fine gauge, and especially if you work with the suggested yarn that is Isager Trio 1, that is quite thin and it's prone to splitting. So she also says that if you want something that is a very similar effect, but perhaps not as fiddly, she recommends Isager Trio 2, which is the same content as 50% linen, 30% cotton, and 20% lyocell. And that way it's a little bit thicker of a yarn and you can achieve gauge with only one strand rather than holding two of the Isager Trio 1. So the pattern consists of a top-down construction, a round yoke, and it also comes with German short rows and then a few raglan increases to improve the fit. The body, the sleeves, and the collar are finished with I-cords. As I mentioned, is one of the features that really caught my attention, and I think it just gives it a more polished look, and I really like the look of that. It is a sport weight. As I mentioned, the two suggested yarns are either two strands of Isager Trio 1 or one strand of Isager Trio 2. The difficulty is 2 out of 5, and it comes in 12 available sizes, ranging from 75 centimeters to 155 centimeters, with recommended positive ease of 6.5 to 11.5 centimeters for the first 8 sizes, and 1 to 11.5 centimeters for the last 4 sizes. I am not sure why the ease is different, but perhaps that's how this designer works with grading the pattern. I have heard very positive things about the Knit Purl Girl in terms of fitting garments, and I've been really looking forward to knitting one of her patterns, but I've never tried before. So I'm really excited to cast on this project as soon as the yarn arrives. I ordered Isager Trio 1 in the color Petroleum Blue, which I thought it was a gorgeous shade of blue, so I'm really excited to have that arriving on the mail. I'll keep you posted on progress for that one. The next pattern I want to share with you is the Leave Me Tender Tee by Camille K. And Camille K is always featured on my roundup videos because I think she has the most whimsical feminine pieces. And I've always dreamed about knitting one of her pieces one day, but they look quite intimidating and quite advanced with a lot of details and complicated constructions. So I have stayed away from that, but one day I hope to knit one of her pieces. And this tee is more of like a short sleeve cardigan. It has a button band, and the body and the sleeves are finished with a beautiful lace ruffle. You can define the waist with an optional knitted I-cord, which I think it really gives it a really nice shape. And it's a fingering weight available in only 6 sizes, unfortunately, ranging from bust circumference of 87 to 127 centimeters, with -2 to 5 centimeters of positive ease, so either 2 centimeters of negative ease or 5 centimeters of positive ease. The recommended yarn is a silk blend or some sort of a linen blend for good draping. The difficulty, as I mentioned, she does quite complicated designs. It is a 4 out of 5. So I probably won't be needing this year, but hopefully in one of the future years coming up, once I familiarize myself with more techniques and I'm more confident, then I can knit one of her patterns. I think this is a gorgeous, gorgeous design. And I really like the color that she used for her main sample. It's this beautiful shade of pink, or like a corally pink, that has been one of my favorites this summer. I do wish she would have more sizes available, a more size inclusive range, but I'm hoping as she's becoming more popular, she will increase her size range and she will expand her size range to be more inclusive. Next tee is a really unique tee that I actually first discovered, I believe it was on Instagram. It is the Shanghai top by A Pilot's Daughter Travels. Is this gorgeous, gorgeous top inspired on Chinese attire, as the name suggests. It has a beautiful diagonal button band and the neck, which is quite characteristic of the traditional Chinese attire that I've at least seen on TV and on social media. So I really think this top is quite unique, and I'm hoping not to. I don't think I will have time to cast it on this year, but it's something I would love to have in my wardrobe. I really like the lace details along the sleeves and on the hem, and I think it's such a unique top. I've never seen anything like it, and I really wanted to feature it on this video because of that. It is knitted on fingering weight, and the recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, which has been quite a popular recommended yarn this year, of at least the patterns that have been catching my attention. And it's one that I would like to try. I don't know if I will have time to try it this year, but it's definitely on my radar. This pattern comes in 9 sizes of finish bust circumference of 81 centimeters to 121 centimeters. Again, even though there's 9 sizes, it's really not that size inclusive, only ranging to 129 centimeters. I would like to see it going a little bit more than that. And it is recommended to be worn with 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch of negative ease. There's no information about the difficulty, but it looks a little bit of, I would say, intermediate advanced, because it does look like a more complicated construction, especially because of the button band and the shape of the neck. But perhaps it's easier than it looks. I really don't know. There wasn't much information, as it is quite a new pattern. And next is another designer that I always feature on my videos. It is the Lillie Tee by Colibri by Johanna. It is a raglan construction. It is featuring this clover-like lace patterns, which reminds me a lot of pointel as well, which has been very popular. By the way, I do have a video on pointel patterns that was posted previously. So if you haven't seen it and you're like that sort of aesthetic, you can go and check it out. It is created with yarn over details around the raglan increases as well, which I think give a really nice detail here around the shoulders and I guess a diagonal of the raglan. It comes in 9 available sizes, ranging from 90 centimeters to 162 centimeters, and is designed to be worn with 5 to 15 centimeters of positive ease. The difficulty is suggested to be medium difficulty, but there's detailed YouTube tutorial in English to help if needed. So if you're an adventurous beginner, I think you wouldn't have any issues following this video tutorial. It is intended to be a sport weight pattern, and the recommended yarn is Pasquale Suave, which is 100% cotton. Pasquale is another brand that I really want to try. It's quite expensive and it's not that easily available here in the UK. I think there's one yarn shop I have seen I have seen it has it available, but it's quite expensive. So I've been really curious to try it out. So I'm wondering how this cotton differs from other cottons I have tried in the past. I do really like this pattern and the I-cord edgings. I don't know why, but there's something about I-cord finishing details on summer garments that it really completes the piece for me. Because I think like the rib details, like the one I'm wearing, gives it more of a sweater look. So I quite like the I-cord finishes for summer garments. The next tee is the Nuance Tee by Julia Piro. It is a beginner-friendly summer top with a simple circular yoke and minimal shaping. In fact, this designer mentioned in her front page that she usually designs all her patterns with beginner or adventurous beginners in mind, and she very often includes YouTube tutorials for you to knit along with it. And this one also comes with a full YouTube tutorial, so you can feel more confident and learn all the techniques while you're knitting it. And it has two yoke options, one that is more basic with plain stockinette, or the one that is featured on the sample that is the mesh yoke. And it is called Nuance because the mesh stitch adds just enough openness to gently change how the fabric looks on the body. I do think it's a really nice detail, and it makes the shirt made look just that much more elegant, in my opinion. It comes in 11 available sizes to fit 74 centimeters to 136, with intended ease of 0 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. The difficulty, as I mentioned, is intended for adventurous beginners, and it comes with a full video tutorial to follow along. I really like the two colors that she chose for her samples. The white really makes the little lace yoke pop out, and the red just, I mean, I do have a weak spot for red, and I think it just makes the whole garment pop up so much. And then we have my Dotline Tee, which is a freshly released pattern by Norgard Knitters. And in fact, she does have a top, a sleeveless top, that I am even surprised to say so myself, but I even like that better than the tee. But I also think the tee is super beautiful. I really like the boxy, oversized look. It is a drop shoulder construction, and I really like how the contrasting colors emphasize the boat neck on the black. And something really interesting about this pattern that is also featured on the sleeveless top, it is the stripes are actually shaped with small bubbles as a bubble stitch that look like little pearls on a string. Those are her words in the pattern. And I really like the effect that it gives because it makes it even more interesting than regular stripes. And I also really like the way she's alternating with sometimes she does like the two stripes and then followed by one stripe. And I think just the asymmetry of it gives it a really, really interesting look. It is designed with sport plus lace, which is still a sport. I imagine that it's quite a lightweight sport, so that it's still within that weight. The recommended yarn is Isager Trio 2, held together with Isager yarn mulberry silk. These are two yarns that I really wish to try. The mulberry silk one, I believe, was recently released, and it looks really, really beautiful. I've been really curious to try it out. I'm gonna be trying the Trio 1 for the other top that I mentioned, but I'm really intrigued to hold it together with mulberry silk, not for the project I'm planning, but perhaps for one in the future, because I do think it will make a super beautiful drapey garment. And this one, it is using exactly that combination, and I do think it looks super beautiful. It comes in 6 available sizes ranging from 80 to 120 centimeters, and it is intended to be worn with 6 to 20 centimeters of positive ease, depending on the size. The sizes do have like a different suggested ease, so you can check out depending on your taste or what size fits you better. There's no information about the difficulty. In fact, there's no current projects because it was very recently released, but it looks simple enough in my opinion. I only don't know anything about the bubble stitch. I don't know how difficult that might be. So that is the only part that makes me think maybe could be more of an intermediate one. But other than that, everything else looks pretty simple. Sorry, I had to close down the curtains. I hope the light is still good enough for the video. But the next tee is the Kylix top by Hannah Said. By the way, sorry if I'm butchering any of these names. I'm really trying my best, but sometimes it's a different language and it's just really difficult to know what the correct pronunciation is. I really like this shirt. It looks quite interesting with this sleeve. Apparently, this type of sleeve is called a French sleeve, which I didn't know about, but I do really like the look. It does say that it's a rib top. It looks like stockinette, but perhaps it's a 1x1 rib, but it's such a fine gauge that it looks just like stockinette. And it's featuring this beautiful keyhole on the neckline that is inspired by Kylix, which is ancient Greek for wine cup. I assume it is like a chalice. And it is this beautiful ribbon detail that closes the little keyhole. And the keyhole can be worn either on the front or on the back. It looks beautiful both ways. It is a fingering weight, and the recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, another pattern recommending pure silk. This is a Japanese designer, and it does have 8 available sizes. Again, typically Japanese designers or Asian designers don't have a very size inclusive availability, but I do hope they start becoming more inclusive as they're becoming more popular. The 8 available sizes are for bust circumference ranging from 62.5 centimeters to 100 centimeters. It is designed to be worn with 8 to 15 centimeters of negative ease, and the difficulty is a 2 out of 5. It does say that video tutorials are included. I am not sure if they're in English, in Japanese, or if they're just pictures with no voiceovers, but it is mentioned in the pattern details that there's a video tutorial included. And next we have this Tu Vera Tee by Maria Tornero. It is this beautiful circular yoke construction with this simple, elegant cable motif in the front and the back. I really like the way they're all kind of starting at the neckline and like going away from it, like kind of like sun rays. I don't know if you know what I mean. There's like one of the cables goes along the neck all the way to the underarm, and then they're kind of like diagonally going from the neckline. So I think it's a really beautiful symmetrical pattern. It is quite cropped. I guess you can adjust the length to your taste, but at least the samples look quite cropped. It is a fingering weight pattern, and another one that is suggested to use the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, or also they suggest to use Filcolana Arvera in Classic. It comes in 10 available sizes ranging from 70 centimeters to 160 centimeters of bust circumference, intended to be worn with 0 to 5 centimeters of positive ease if you're looking for a more loose fit, or 5 to 10 centimeters of negative ease for a more fitted look. It does look quite nice fitted with a skirt the way the sample is shown. I really like that look. And the difficulty is intended to be for advanced beginners. I really like the way these cables are using a more unique way of what you would expect. So it really caught my attention. And next we have the Bloodroot Tee by Andrea Gagnon. And it comes in 2 different fits. One is charted using traditional men sizing, but she recommends these to be used for wide shoulders. And then one is graded using traditional women sizing, but she recommends these for more narrow shoulders. The pattern has lots of options for customization, which I really like when designers offer these options. It has 2 sleeve lengths, 2 body lengths, optional waist shaping, and optional stripes. I do really like the combination of stripes that she's shown here in this like kind of orangey red and dark like burgundy brown. I think it's like a brownish color. I think it's a really interesting, unexpected combination that looks super beautiful. It is a fitted rib t-shirt. I believe it's a 2x2 rib, and with folded collar and short sleeves. It is worked top down with simultaneous set-in sleeve shaping. It's intended for a light fingering yarn, and the recommended yarn is knitting for olive merino. It comes in 10 available sizes to fit bust circumference of 75 centimeters to 165 centimeters, and it is intended to be worn with 5 to 7.5 centimeters of negative ease. That is because of the rib texture. It does expand quite a lot after you finish. And next we have the Raglan Tee by Aegu Knit, which is also inspired by her previous design that was released earlier in the year. That was with the same name, Isa Raglan, but it's a sweater that I really like. That one too. It's on my list. I have both on my list. The difference here is this one is a short sleeve, and it does have the I-cord finishes. It's a Raglan tee with twisted rib details, German short rows, and the twisted rib segments are shaped on a kind of a V around the hem, and also mirroring the same effect around the sleeves, which I really find it interesting when she plays with these geometrical shapes using the ribbing, rather than just having like the plain rounds of ribbing as more traditional options. I like the way this is like more unique in that sense. It also has some interesting details around the raglan increases, which I really like. It is intended to be for sport weight yarn, which is sport plus lace. Again, it is the Isager Trio 2 combination with mulberry silk, another combination that has been popular recently. It comes in 7 available sizes ranging from 93 centimeters to 131 centimeters, intended to be worn with 2 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. The difficulty is intermediate, or if you omit the short rows and the Italian bind off, you can make it less difficult. As I mentioned, this is also available on the long sleeve. It's a different pattern, but it's also called the Isa Raglan. And I really like the rolled neck detail of that one. So it's also been on my list. And next we have the Take On Me Tee by Daniela Muehlbauer. Again, I'm sorry if I'm butchering this name. And it's inspired by the song Take On Me, which I really like that she mentioned that in the description of the pattern. It is a very versatile raglan shirt with maximum flexibility. I love when designers offer so many options for modifications. I really think it makes your money worth when you buy patterns like these. It includes options for short and long sleeve, detailed instructions to combine different sizes for a more tailored fit, such as a larger bust with narrower upper arms. It is a subtle but elegant eyelet pattern around the sleeves. I actually saw some of the other samples carried on the eyelet little details all over the top, not only on the sleeves, and it also looks super beautiful. But I like how the main sample is using these eyelets only on the sleeves, and it also has a mirroring effect around the neckline and on the hem to tie it all together. I think it looks subtle but super beautiful, and it gives it just enough interest for it to look kind of unique. It comes in 10 available sizes ranging from bust circumference of 80 to 146 centimeters, and it's designed to be worn with 5 to 10 centimeters of positive ease for a fingering or sport weight yarn. Again, these are also two options that she offers in her pattern. I really like when they offer all these different sizes. I mean, you can knit this pattern in many different ways and then really get your money's worth. Another designer that does very similar thing is the Creia Bea, which is the one that is coming up with the next pattern, which is Sollas, or I believe it's called Sollas by Rebecca Clow. And this is one of the only stockinette patterns that I'm including here because I think all the different options that she offers give it enough interest for me to include it in this video. I mean, she's offering a cardigan option. She's offering a cardigan with short sleeve. She's offering a short sleeve. She's offering a Henley. So it's so many variations of the same pattern, and all together for the price of one. I mean, what else can you ask for? It is amazing. She's one of my favorite designers, not only because she is originally from Scotland, but also because she is always very mindful of being size inclusive. She very often offers these modifications as part of her patterns. I mean, for the price of one. And she also, very many of her patterns are charted also for men. I think she also constantly updates her patterns to expand her sizes and her different fits. So I think she's a wonderful, wonderful designer. I have not knitted any of her patterns, but I have a lot of them on my list. This one is a top-down simultaneous setting sleeve construction, and the pattern includes instructions for both DK and fingering weight, for long and short sleeve, or for a close or cardigan option. It comes in 11 sizes, and there's very detailed instructions on choosing your best size. For the tee and the Henley, it ranges from bust circumference for 71.7 centimeters to 171 centimeters. And for the cardigan, it ranges from 70 to 170 centimeters, designed to have 0 to 8 centimeters of positive ease. And next, I have 3 colorwork patterns that I wanted to include. Usually, I associate colorwork with more winter garments or more of like sweaters, because usually colorwork creates like a double fabric for all the floats that you carry over. But I couldn't help myself to include some of these patterns that I found super beautiful. First, I have the Knit Purl Repeat Tee by Greener Makes. And it is this really nerdy tee that I love. I mean, I can't help myself. I do love a graphic nerdy tee. And this one is a really fun one. And it's a top-down saddle shoulder construction with setting sleeves and faux seams to ensure a tailored fit. It comes with German short rows, and it includes a tubular bind-off in the instructions. The pattern also includes instructions on how to incorporate waist shaping if desired. It's optional. And the color work begins shortly before joining in the round, which means that you will have to work a few rounds of color work in flat, but she does encourage to say that it's not as difficult as it sounds, although I myself will be a little bit intimidated by this fact. All the ribbon is framed with a contrast color detail, which I think it complements really well the whole graphic tee look. It is a fingering weight, and it comes in 9 available sizes, ranging from 80 centimeters to 159 centimeters of bust circumference, with 3 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. And the difficulty of these is intermediate, as I mentioned, perhaps because you have to do a few rows of color work and flat. And next, we have this really cute You Pick Tee by Heidi Kiermaier. which is this gorgeous tea featuring strawberries all over it. I mean, I love strawberries. In fact, I planted some recently in my garden. So I really like the look of this tea, and I couldn't help myself to include it in this roundup. It has options for short or elbow length sleeves and a straight A-line body. It's a round yoke with a few short rows and also a few raglan increases that are intended for a better fit. All the little details of the neckline, the hem, and the sleeves are in twisted ribbon. It is a fingering weight pattern, and it comes in 12 available sizes ranging from 80 to 150 centimeters with 5 to 13 centimeters of positive ease. And the difficulty is a 2 out of 5. I really like the little strawberry design. Perhaps this is something I will probably do it in more of the elbow or like a 3/4 sleeve, because I do see it more of a sweater look than a tee, to be honest, but it's a really beautiful pattern and I wanted to include. And on a similar line, we have the next pattern, which is the Maj Tee by Made Book, or I think it is Made or Mad book. I just couldn't help myself with tulips. Tulips are my absolute favorite flower, and every time I see a design with tulips, I just can't resist. This one is featuring some beautiful tulips and butterflies along a circular yoke. So again, this is another one that to me, it feels more like a sweater. So my instinct will be to do this in a longer sleeve, but regardless, it's a beautiful design. It comes in 7 sizes ranging from 91 centimeters to 137 centimeters. It doesn't mention the recommended ease, but it does look like it has some positive ease. Perhaps the pattern will have more instructions on choosing your size. It is a decade weight, and there are some short rows included. All the details of the neck, the sleeves, and the hem are a 2x2 rib. And yeah, I think it's a gorgeous pattern. And that's it. But you might have noticed that I didn't mention 2 patterns by some of my favorite designers. One is the Cosmopolitan Tee and one is the Terrace Tee. I didn't feature those 2 patterns in this video because I already mentioned them previously on the Pointel roundup. Otherwise, I would have included them here as well. So if you want to hear more about those 2 particular patterns, you can go and check out the other video, but they will also be included in this bundle if you follow the link in the description below. So I hope you found this video inspirational. Please let me know in the comments if you're planning to knit any summer tees this year and which one was your favorite pattern. I can't wait to hear from you. For me, I think it will be the Waffle Tee, which will be next on my needles. I really don't know if I will have time to cast on any of the other projects, but I will keep you posted in my upcoming knitting podcast. So thank you so much for sticking out with me till the end. If you like this kind of videos and you don't want to miss out on future videos, I invite you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. And also so you can hear about my future knitting podcast with all my updates and everything about the Waffle Tee. And I hope to see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.